Some people appear to be naturally confident or exceptionally motivated. And while this may be true, confidence and motivation are skills that we can learn and develop, very much like we develop the physical and technical skills of our sport for training and competition. My name is Amanda Leibovitz, and I am a certified mental performance consultant with years of experience working with a broad range of athletes, exercisers, and performers trying to achieve new levels of success in multiple situations in their lives. I'm really excited for the chance to talk to you today about confidence and motivation so that we can understand these concepts better and also learn how they relate to performance and identify ways that we can work on building these skills to benefit us in our own pursuits, whether it be sport, academia, the workplace, personal goals, or just life in general.
Motivation can be tricky to describe, but most theorists and researchers have agreed on the simple definition of motivation as the direction and intensity of effort. The direction of effort refers to whether a person seeks out, approaches, or is attracted to certain situations. We can think of the direction of motivation as plugging an address into our GPS. We know where we want to go, but that alone isn't enough to reach our goals because the car doesn't move until we put our foot on the gas. This is where the intensity of effort comes into play. Intensity of effort refers to how much effort a person puts forth in a given situation. Our intensity of effort can have a broad range, similar to the speedometer in our cars. If we only put light pressure on the gas, we will move forward but not get to our destination very quickly. If we floor it, we might win the race, but also risk overheating our engine block, which could lead to mechanical trouble or, in the case of sport, poor performance. The trick is to figure out which speed will allow us to sustain an effective level of motivation to successfully reach our final goal. The best way to understand motivation is to examine how personal factors and situational factors interact. For example, we know that some athletes who are highly motivated in practice may be less motivated in competitive situations where their performance is being evaluated and judged. We have also seen athletes with a low motivation to work hard in individual events rise to the occasion when placed on a relay team. Lastly, I'm sure we have all also experienced how our own motivation has changed based on the coaching or teaching style of various instructors in sport. This participant by situation interaction serves as the foundation for understanding all the other theories of motivation. There are three key components to attribution theory, which include stability, locus of causality, and locus of control. And all of these come together to represent how people explain their own successes and failures. For example, was the victory a fluke or the result of weeks of disciplined training? Was the loss due to a lack of effort or because the other team had a better day or there were unfavorable weather conditions? The more we believe our successes are due to our abilities and effort, and that our failures are impermanent and our skills can improve with hard work, the more motivated we will be, even in the face of challenges. Goal orientation involves a person's interpretation of what it means to be successful. Some athletes may adopt an ego or performance orientation that defines success as winning or beating others. Other athletes will adopt a task or mastery orientation that measures success by the ability to learn and master a task. Linking back to what we said about attribution, those athletes who value mastery and progress over winning or losing are more likely to have higher levels of motivation that will persist or be maintained in the face of temporary setbacks or losses. This does not mean that wanting to win is bad. It simply means that we don't want winning to be our only goal. Finally, Perceived competence is also a source of motivation, and this involves a person's feelings of worth and belief in their own skills and abilities to be successful. These feelings of worth and competence do not directly affect motivation, but rather, they do so indirectly via our emotions. To put it simply, our personal evaluations directly influence our emotion states, such as enjoyment, anxiety, shame, and pride, and our emotion states directly influence our level of motivation. So, according to this, an athlete with high self esteem, feelings of competence, and a belief that they can learn and perform skills will experience emotions like enjoyment, pride, and happiness, which will result in increased motivation. Conversely, an athlete with low self esteem, feelings of incompetence, and who does not believe that effort will improve performance will more likely experience emotions of anxiety, shame, and sadness, which will result in decreased motivation. Terms like self confidence, self esteem, and self efficacy are often used interchangeably, but in reality, they are slightly different and it can be helpful to differentiate between them. First, self confidence is the belief that we can successfully perform a desired behavior. And as we all know, self confidence can vary from situation to situation. Self-efficacy, then, is our belief that we have the skills needed to successfully complete a specific task or produce a desired outcome. And this is really like situation-specific confidence. Finally, self-esteem is a part of our overarching self-concept and refers to a positive or negative orientation toward ourself, and also represents our personal evaluation of our own worth. Self-esteem is definitely related to self-confidence, but they are not the same thing. So moving forward, we will refer to self-confidence and specifically self-efficacy as our primary sources of motivation. Understanding self-efficacy can be really helpful when we're trying to build both confidence and motivation. As we can see, efficacy expectations, or our beliefs that we have the skills needed to be successful in a given situation, have many sources. These include past performance accomplishments, or watching someone else who we perceive to be just like us complete that same task successfully. Other sources include verbal persuasion, which may be something like your coach is telling you that you're ready for a new PR in powerlifting, or it can be an imaginal experience, which might include visualizing successful free throws to score the game-winning point. A third source of efficacy information includes our own emotions and body sensations, along with our interpretations of this internal information. Of all these sources, past performance success is the greatest predictor and contributor to self-efficacy, because if we've done it before, we're more likely to be confident that we can do it again. All of this efficacy information comes together to form an efficacy expectation, meaning we decide if we have the skills needed to be successful. If we appraise that we do have the skills, we are more likely to feel confident and motivated to complete the task. If we appraise that we do not have the requisite skills, we are more likely to feel stressed or anxious or even motivated to avoid that task. Either way, our degree of self-efficacy will influence our decision-making and our athletic performance. Since we know that motivation and confidence are linked together by self-efficacy, we can discuss ways to build motivation and confidence. First and foremost, if we want to build motivation, we must create multiple opportunities for ourselves to be successful. If our sole measure of success is whether we won or lost, we are cutting out countless opportunities to build self-efficacy, motivation, and confidence. We also want to understand that everyone has multiple motives for involvement, including ourselves. And these motives can change over time or compete with our motivation to do other activities. One way we can tackle waning motivation, or even something that will require a lot of motivation to actually do, is to see if we can change our environment to enhance motivation. This could be anything from packing our swim bag the night before an early morning workout, upgrading our running shoes, or joining a gym that's aesthetically pleasing in a place we actually want to be. Another thing that can be helpful in both understanding and building our motivation is to think about it as more like an emotion rather than a stable trait. Just like we know we can experience anger without being angry all the time, we can recognize that sometimes we will feel motivated and sometimes we will not. And that's okay. One of our biggest motivation killers is when we beat ourselves up for not feeling motivated. Finally, we want to develop a system that reinforces the behaviors that bring us closer to our goals. If you hate threshold intervals on the bike, how can you reward yourself after those sessions to get you in the saddle on your threshold training days? Or if you loathe stretching and foam rolling after a track run, what can you do to make that part of your training more enjoyable? Now, briefly looking at the ways we can build self-confidence, again, we return to a focus on performance accomplishments over winning or losing. We want to value progress over podiums whenever we can because it's ultimately the progress that will put us in the best position to win when the stakes are high. Similarly, we know that past performance accomplishments are our greatest source of self-efficacy. So we want to make sure we are intentionally recognizing those accomplishments as they happen. Other things that can help build self-confidence is to fake it till you make it. Act, respond, and think with confidence, and eventually you will start to feel confident. Similarly, visualizing ourselves being successful, setting clear goals with multiple measures of success, going all in with our physical conditioning and training, and being prepared are really great ways to build self-confidence.
So now that we are aware that both confidence and motivation are largely dependent on past performance success, we're empowered with a lot of great knowledge to help us reinvent or reimagine our approach to training and competition. And we can really do this in two impactful ways. The first way would be to create space in our experience to acknowledge and celebrate every little step that we're taking toward mastery or progress. When we do this, we are telling ourselves that we are capable of change and that that change can come as a result of hard work. And when we do that, we not only build confidence in our own skills and abilities, but we also become more motivated. And especially when we're faced with challenges, we're going to be more resilient to stay the course and stick it out. The other way that we can reimagine our approach to training is to think about how we can incorporate multiple measures of success into any one training session or competition. So rather than thinking about only an objective outcome, can you also add in some subjective measures that will tell you whether or not you've been successful? Similarly, are there multiple data points for which you can measure success? So let's say you don't necessarily max out your lift in a powerlifting competition, but were there other things related to your form or technique that you did really well that are still indicating progress? So by allowing ourselves to work toward mastery, toward skill development, toward strength and endurance and just athletic development in general, we're really creating a strong foundation for us to believe in our own abilities to be successful. And that is the true source of both confidence and motivation. I hope you found this whole video to be helpful, as well as the tips that I've provided at the end. And I wish you all the best in your training and future competitions.